Hello, welcome to Books in the Biz, a podcast that looks at both the financial and operational sides of success. Please welcome our hosts, Dan Paulson and Richard Veltre. Dan is the CEO of Envision Development International, and he works with leaders to increase sales and profits through great cultures with solid operations. Rich is CEO of the Veltre Group and a financial strategist working with companies to manage their money more effectively. Now on to the
Hello and welcome to Books in the Biz. Thank you, Alice, for that wonderful introduction. She nails it every time, Rich. I tell you.
Every time. It's amazing.
It's almost like she's a robot. She's that good.
Almost, right?
It is. Hey, we've got a guest today, so I would like to welcome Matt Guse. Matt, how are you doing?
Well, I'm pretty good. That lady kind of reminds me of my wife. She's already right.
Well, hopefully she's a little bit more in person because our lady's an AI gal that we have just conjured up through the internet. But
Dan, she'll hear you.
She'll hear me. I think the last time I criticized her, she screwed up a bunch, and then she did, yes. So we'll have to keep that in mind. She's always listening, Matt. She's always listening.
Oh, sounds about right.
Well, Matt, you are part owner of M.R.S. Machining. Maybe you could explain the name a little bit to us because it does have some significance.
Well, the other owner is much better looking than me. That would be my wife. So that's where the missus comes in. My dad and mom started back in '86. My dad always wanted to be woman-owned because we did a lot of government work, and they thought missus was going to be the recognition of that. And I don't know if it ever materialized. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But we actually ended up getting away from the government work side of it. And but we just, kept the missus going. And so we get later in my story, I lost my mom and dad. Then we just put my wife's name at 51% and kept me at 49. And so nowadays I have, like I said, I have a boss at home and I have the same boss at work. So bosses
can never get away from it, can you?
No, I can't. But no, she's not here the day-to-day stuff. She just kind of does her reserving. Her full-time job now is more or less watching grandkids, which she really enjoys. So
well, good for her. So you do machining. What type of machining work do you do?
Well, we do a lot of different types. We could be here all day, but we pretty much do anything across the board except for maybe automotive and nuclear. We're not a high volume. We're more of a low volume, high mix. So, like 50 pieces or less from the ones and twosies, 50. That's kind of our niche. We do a lot of placement parts for folks where we stock them and store them and put them on the shelf. I consider myself more like a grocery store. You're not coming to us to look for one loaf, or you're not coming to look at us for 100 loaves of bread. You're coming to look at 1, 2, or 10 loaves just to get you by through the week, or for future. We'll take it and we'll make sure we put 10 loaves on your shelf every week if we have to. So it's kind of what we are. We do for a lot of complex parts. The simpler stuff we're not really we're good at, but we're a little more expensive. But the more complex, anything round with side features is our niche. We have a lot of 5-axis machines, and we're getting more into that. And now we're putting them on robots with them. So that's making a lot more. We can run more volume through here when the robot will load, unload. And what's really nice, it can unload, load, and check the part. It really can't check reverse. So, but it's a whole different philosophy when you're running robots and machines. Some of the major industries are, medical, space exploration, food, power generation, fluid hydraulics, a lot of the automation is in hydraulic cylinders and stuff. So we're getting doing a lot of manifold blocks and customized stuff that way. Industrial products, a lot of people that make stuff that we use every day. Oh boy, our biggest industry is not no more than 15%, and we don't have a customer over 15%. So when we have to grow, we have to either dilute the system to have other current customers grow with us that want to grow with us, or we have to say the word no. And sometimes that's tougher than what it is, but it's not healthy to have some of my life learned lessons is don't have 70% of your business with one customer, as I did a few years ago. So, in a nutshell, that's kind of who we are.
How many employees do you have?
Currently, we have 53, and then we have about at all times we have probably 3 interns. We'll help kids from a tech college, and usually we have 3 different schools, kids in here from 3 different schools. That's kind of my passion. My part-time job is getting youth into manufacturing, showing them careers into manufacturing. Hey, they're in high school, right? So let's make their mistake now instead of going off to college spending $100,000 in liberal arts that they're never going to get a job in. Then we try to, once we get them in here and they like it and they're good, we try to incentivize them to stay in the manufacturing careers as much as we can. We kind of roll out and say, here's your future plan, here's your growth, and so it's exciting. The kids we always got here are great. Our workforce is really young because of that. It just seems like youth feeds youth, and which is exciting.
Good. I know Rich probably has a bunch of questions, but I'll ask one more here before I turn it over to him. So you mentioned, getting youth involved. How do you see the employment market going right now? I always like to ask that question of guests that we have on. Where do you see it going?
That's very interesting. It's getting better. For a while there, like a year or 2 ago, it wasn't so great. But we're seeing, like today, we're seeing a lot more applicants. But it's tough. For a skilled machinist to come walking in here, that's like that's a grain of salt or a needle in a haystack. So that way we have to bring them in and teach them ourselves. It's the soft skill part is what we need in schools, and that's what I really emphasize on when I go to schools and speak. Soft skills, show up for work early, stay off your phone, be a team player, put your time into it, get better, learn. Because a lot of people go to college and they get done, they think that, I got my degree, I'm set for life. Well, you're only set for about 6 months. So kids need just direction, and now it's kind of like you got to have about 5 or 6 of them, and they need a mentor. It just seems like we got that COVID gap. If you can tell when last year seniors had that when they're freshmen and they didn't have the communication skills. So, but no, just have to be the mentor and help them and show them the way and show them the path and lay it out. And so that's what we do here.
Good. Rich, what do you got?
Well, I love the space. Okay, so I started out my career. I'm a numbers guy, but I started out my career with my one favorite client, because I worked for a really, really big accounting firm. My favorite client was actually the smallest client that was in the office, and it was the one that secretly had this kind of weird-looking warehouse, weird-looking facility. And when you went out there, you realized what they were making was a part that was maybe that large for the landing gear on the F-14. So that's why I loved that client, because I was manufacturing a part, or the company was manufacturing a part that actually, meant something. It wasn't a metal shelf or anything else. It literally, you knew what that part was for. So is there anything that you are working on that sort of falls into that kind of, I'll call it passion. Like, that was a piece for me. I was part of the consumer industrial products group. So it was like, I'm making something that is American and as American as you can get.
Well, yeah, we do that. We have a lot of parts, like back in the days when the Land Rovers on the going to the M.R.S, we made a little camera bracket that holded it on the Land Rover. So that was really cool to see. I went off to JPL, seen it. And nowadays we're doing some of the space exploration stuff that we're doing. Things are going up in the sky. There's probably parts over your head right now that we made here. So that's kind of intriguing. And, that's what kids like to see. They like to see that new technology. So when I pull some of those parts out, I go to career shows, they're like, wow, that's really cool. And which is good for us, because that helps us recruit them in here. So, we, every day we're making cool stuff, and, everybody here is very gifted and talented. So we have great customers. There's a lot of key factors of what makes M.R.S successful. It's just not me. I'm in the bottom of the barrel. But it's our biggest number one asset here is the people, and that's, to me, is more important than some fancy shiny part. But And then, we got great equipment. So, and then just like I said, our team culture is what really makes us.
Okay.
Kind of got off the direction. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, that's right.
No. I guess the other question is, now I've kind of transitioned, instead of being the guy that was the accountant and checking the numbers and doing that kind of thing. I'm looking a little bit more forward towards strategy, towards markets and what's actually growing. So if I now switched gear a little bit and ask you, with all of the discussions out there about manufacturing and bringing it back to the United States, and getting more things built here as opposed to being built in South Asia, or anywhere else over there, where everything kind of got shipped over the last 30, 40 years, where it just shifted. Now all of a sudden it seems like, hopefully, right? And hopefully it's starting to come back. Well, how do you feel about that? Like, do you feel like that's correct? Do you feel like the market's starting to show that this is where we're going to head?
Yeah, there's definitely signs of it. There's two problems with that. I guess the most obvious is one thing we already talked about is, the needs going like this, but the people coming into it are going like down. So we can bring all these companies back, all this work back, but until we get the skills up there, I don't call it our training gap, I call it more or less, instead of a skills gap. Until we get that up there, none of this is going to be possible. Because the more you learn, the more you get better. And automation helps. We're all dabbling with automation now. Yeah, that does help, but robots aren't cheap either. They cost money.
Right.
We got to get more innovative. And America is one of the best countries that are most innovative, and we'll get there. We have to build up our skill set here in America until that happens, because a lot of it's to do with price. I had a couple companies call me and, hey, we want to bring these parts back overseas, but the problem is that they're paying 10 cents for them now, and our costs are $1.10. So that's the problem. But then you got to, like Harry Mosler, if everybody knows him, you got to figure out your true cost. And sometimes I can sell that on them. What's your true cost? What's your shipping? What's a container? What's the risk of bringing them in here, now they're bad, and trying to get them fixed? Because that does happen. You just can't.
Happens a lot.
Yeah, just can't jump your QC guy in a plane every day and go over and check your parts and sign off on them, because that's very expensive. So until we get that fixed, that's the problem. And then to get people in this trade, or machining trade, or welding, or whatever, we have to up our wages a little bit, because plumbers and electricians, you can't just go overseas and get your plumber fixed or come and fix your bathroom. So there's a demand for that, and they're struggling. So they can just put more money on it. That's a little easier than trying to get a skilled machinist where I'll just take it overseas and get it made. Where did that line drawn? But some of our customers what they're doing now is they're designing, and they want to just design and assemble. Because when you try to make it yourself, it's not a fixed cost. We make it here. There's just so much involved in machining a part or welding a part. There's stresses. There are different batches of material, and we're humans. We make mistakes, so our costs are kind of up and down. Where, if I'm a manufacturer, I'll just go get it made, and that part's quoted at $10. It comes in here, it's $10. Well, if I try to make it in here, I can maybe make it for $7 one day, and maybe the next day it's $16. So the fixed cost, that's where we're seeing some of our growth. And the part of that taking full ownership of the product line and all the parts, that's where our growth's coming from, and we're seeing great success for that. So, but I have some really skilled guys, and we can kind of prevent a lot of those mistakes from happening beforehand. And I have a lot of people that not just the machinists on the floor, but also the people in the office. When we buy material, procure it, we know where to go and who has good material, and we know how to work with all that. So yeah, it's a very sensitive subject right now. But like I said, I want to be the guy known for that, to bring in the wages up for all our machinists and manufacturing people, get on the level playing field with everybody else. I'm not saying that we don't need plumbers, electricians, but everybody should be treated the same. Because when you're a machinist, you're just not a machinist. You're a scientist, you're a chemist, you're an engineer. Now you're kind of more of a tech savvy person, because everything is kind of going digital. So you got to understand that. And then now AI's coming into it, so that's getting even more interesting. It's actually making people's jobs easier than it is harder.
That's
See,
good.
I can ravel on, you know.
Well, have you found that schools are more receptive to people moving into a skilled trade versus going to college? Because I've got a couple kids, and I remember one, my daughter, when she was kind of getting into her senior year, the push was for college. And it seemed like college was the only thing they talked about. They didn't talk about alternative careers or going anywhere else. It was really, no, you have to go to school and get that 4-year degree. And I think every one of us on here knows that while that might be a good fit for some people, it's not a good fit for everyone. So I know you said you're doing a fair amount in schools. Are they being more open to really kind of looking at skilled trades or helping develop these skills that you need?
Yeah, you know, the small rural schools like where we're at, you know, in Indiana, you know, Iowa, yeah, they're great to work with. We flipped that switch already, and that's why I say it's going to take about 5 or 10 years to bring that in. Now, the bigger the school, the bigger the city, it's the hardest. It's just like there's so much bureaucracy they have to go through. You know, we had a great thing going on here about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where we would pay the teachers like $5,000 to take a week class at school. We had donations for equipment. We bought equipment, and this one school down the road, Eau Claire, we're going to give them like 15 pieces of equipment, and they denied it. They didn't want it because there was that mentality was a 4-year college, or you know, we don't want our kids underskilled. We want our kids to go to colleges mentality, and you know that's just a shame. All that does is hurt the kids, their careers. You know, your philosophy is not trying to get too political, but you know, you're telling what you think your kids are. You know, when kids are in school, they should explore everything, and that's
Right.
why I love doing. That's why I love bringing kids in here for tours. You know, if they walk away here, like yesterday we did a tour, they walk away here and it's like, nope, that's not for me. That's great. There's nothing wrong with that. At least now you know you don't want what you don't want to do.
Right.
So that's what my dad always preached. So yeah, it's the rural schools are really receptive. You know, we're putting robots in. Midwest Labs over is doing a really great job of doing that, and it's really, you know, kids love seeing that fancy technology and get them involved. And one of the cool things I started doing now is I had gotten in an accident about a year and a half ago on a cycling accident, and I didn't really go to the schools as much as I could because I just wasn't focused. And this summer, I work a lot with Cardinal Manufacturing, Craig Krowski over there, and I was telling him about it. I said, I need to get over here more. And he goes, well, Matt, you kind of got in an accident. And as we're drinking coffee, and I'm like, you know what, Craig, I'm going to come over here and have coffee. And he goes, you know what, that's a really good idea, because a lot of kids nowadays, the coffee's kind of the new thing. I know they like the fluffy, the creamy stuff, but
yeah, it's more sugar than coffee, I think.
You know, like Craig says, you just got to show your presence, and the rest will take care of itself. So every month, you know, I have coffee with Matt. I go to the schools now. I buy the coffee, shop for coffee. There's my shout out to that, and we have coffee, and we talk about machining careers. Yeah, a little bit, but we talk about life. That way, when they see me on the street or they see me somewhere, they feel comfortable with you. And it just now it's really taken off. Where a lot of kids that, you know, start to have to. My list is getting like, who can we bring in internship? And you know, it's kind of like, wish it was like that for job applications, but we can pick and choose our kids now. Students may want to come here versus just bringing them in because they can, you know. So it's working, and you know, I'm trying to, you know, put them in the other schools or other businesses as much as I can, because I don't want to lose that opportunity, shun them away. So yeah.
Great. Well, let's transition to life a little bit, because you know the name of this podcast was "How to Fail at Everything and Still Succeed," and that was kind of something that when we talked last week, you were talking about how you've made a number of mistakes and still seem to figure it out. I think that's interesting to a lot of people, because you know we all make mistakes and we all have failures, and some people get too wrapped up in the failures to realize that they can overcome them. What did you mean by all that? You failed so many times, or what?
Well, I'm going to use the 3 F's: fail fast, fix fast, and forget fast. I like to do things in 3, by the way. You know, for every success story I have, I can guarantee you there's probably at least 5 failures right behind it. And boy, you know, I'm in the process of writing this book, and I don't know how the heck am I still here today? You know, just all the things I did wrong. But you know, I guess when I was in high school, I had a teacher, and I thank him today for it. At the time I didn't. He told me I was going to be a loser and I wasn't going to be nowhere in life. and I kind of put a little chip on my shoulder. And funny story is that we were on a school board one day, and I was in a school board, and we had to do union negotiations, and he was ahead of union negotiations, and I'm sitting on the other side of the field going like this. So now who's successful? Not going to be successful. But no, you have to learn, and when you fail, don't just put it on your shoulders. I mean, there's so much help out there, and if anybody's having struggles, get a hold of me. I'm happy to help you. But you got to learn by your mistakes. That's why I say fail fast. Okay, we failed, right? Now we're going to sit there and cry over spilled milk, or we're going to do something about it. Let's fix it, right? So let's figure out a plan. You know, when my employees or someone in my team comes to me and tells me has a problem, he better be coming with a solution, right? The next words, because I don't have the solutions, but he probably does. So I want to hear your solution, and then we're gonna fix this, and then we're gonna forget about it, because don't dwell on the past. Don't look in the rearview mirror. One of my quotes I like to say is push forward. Easy roads lead to dead ends. Hard roads lead to best destinations. So, you know, it's easy to go on the easy road, and it's going to end to a dead end because you're going to hit a wall. But when you take a rough road up in the country, up in the mountains, you're going to see the best views there is. So, but it's going to be a bumpy road, right? So that's kind of what I did. You know, I'm just kind of bumping around, losing, you know, making failures, but just keep going forward and trying to, you know, just keep your head up. A lot of my failures, but we could be here all day talking to them. I guess some of the worst ones I've done is, you know, I bought machine tools without a business plan. I just went in and signed some paper, and I remember my mom was just like, "Mom, you got to," because she had to sign off on it. I said, "Just sign this," and she goes, "What am I signing for?" "Oh, never mind. Oh, I just bought a $200,000 machine with no plan. Just now my checkbook's in the red, right?" So. Oh boy, you know, and then the bank, you know, you go to the bank and you just kind of con it into them, and they just kind of give you some money, but you didn't really have a plan how you're going to pay it back. And then when my mom and dad I ended up buying my mom and dad out before they passed away. You know, I didn't have a plan. You know, I just kind of got the money, and all of a sudden now I got this big debt over my head. How am I going to pay for it? Because you buy a machine, it's a little easier because you can get a revenue off that pretty fast. You know, It's could be a 1 to 3 or 5 year plan, and it's paid for. So that's a little easier. But when you go just buy your mom and dad out, that ain't good. So yeah, I tried to hire a consultant once. Thought that was going to solve all my problems, and that turned into not a very nice situation. It turned up being what my chapter in my new book's going to be called, "When the Snake Came to Town," because that's exactly what he was. So that was my $150,000 education to get him out of here. So. But you know what? That led to a path now where I got a new CFO. He's been here 9 years. Michael has been wonderful. He's helped me out so much, learned a lot about the finances. Now I don't have to worry about all that stuff, you know. He just briefs me on it, and we go over it, and does a wonderful job. Oh, man. Oh, another one of our failures is 1 week we lost 3 of our customers, and that was back when we were smaller. You know, those 3 customers are 90% of our business. And it wasn't really nothing we did. But you know, that was our livelihood. And one called up, 2 or 3 were material issues, and they had bad material, and they didn't know when they're going to place orders again. And then the other one was they lost their contract with their customer. So now we're sitting here. Monday started all good. By Friday, we're twiddling our thumbs. They had no work. And now I have like 8 people on staff. What are we going to do? But I didn't just sit there and dwell on it and wait for the work to come back. You know, we didn't have cell phones back then. We didn't really have computers and internet back then. I just got in the car and jumped in it and started knocking on doors, and started finding work, and I started asking around, and within a week or 2 we had work. We had more work we knew what to do with. And then to make things better, all that work eventually came back. So now I just like doubled in size because of that bad incident. So don't take a failure as a you know, like I said, there's help. There's always help. You can get your way through anything if you just ask for help and keep a cool and calm head. And it's kind of like officiating sports, you know. That's where that came from. You know, I'll make a bad call. If I just sit there and dwell on that, like it's the first quarter, or if it's the first half, I'll be like a deer in the headlights, and I'll just keep making failures. So just take a deep breath. A little kinky thing I do that I do is I have a root beer in my car. And that's my thing to get me back on track. So I just think of that root beer, boom, I'm back on track, and I'm going. So I don't know if that answers that question. like I said, I'll get more in depth into the failures in my book someday. So.
Well, so tell me more about the root beer. What causes the root beer to give you focus? Thinking about enjoying that root beer after you're done with the game, or what?
Yeah, well, it's first off, it's a sweet treat, right? It's like a little treat. But it's just say that bad call at travel, or I just made a bad business, I just made a bad offset my machine and I crashed it. And if I just keep focusing on that, it'll just get that intention to keep building. But wait a minute, I got this treat over here. I got this sweet pop. And you forget about it for a second. You forget about that. You come back to it like, oh, okay, I'm good now. It's like a switch. Um, it I think it works for every official out there, because some people, I mean, some of my friends, they look at the flag and they look at a certain flag, a star in the flag, and that's enough to get them back on track. So I said, just don't dwell on the bad, dwell on the good.
Excellent. Rich, you got anything to add to that?
No, I totally agree with the theory there. You can't dwell on the past. I've said it so many times that people they roll their eyes when I say it, but water's under the bridge, right? You can't get it back. So don't dwell on the water that's already passed. Dwell on the water that's still coming. So, it's a good theory that, let the other stuff go, move on to the next, clear your head, whether it's with a root beer or whatever else you can use, and just keep moving forward.
No, another thing I do, I go to schools and I have talked to the kids, and I got like 24 different things I talk about. But the first thing, it starts in the morning when you tie your shoes and you get out of bed. Think of something positive. Because if you think negative, you're going to have a negative day. It's a proven fact. Tie your shoes. Hey, I just screwed up a part, or I just made a bad business decision. Forget about it. Tie your shoe. Hey, it's going to be a great day. I'm going to overcome that. We're going to move forward. I'm going to go tell somebody they did a good job or something. And that's another thing. Do something nice to others, and you'll get 10 times the reward. You go to gas stations and grocery stores or wherever you're on there. Just say hello, hi, and smile. Hello. You may not know that person, but you don't know what that person's going through, and you do that. You might have just changed that person's life or someone else's. I know it helps me when someone says, "Hey, have a good day," and I'm like, "Wow, all right, okay, it's a good day." So just try to be the influencer, because I guarantee you, if you just try it for a week, I tell kids, just go try it for a week. Just say hi and smile at somebody and wait, because in another week, your life's going to be that much better, and the people around you are going to be much better. So, because you're going to be happier.
Nice. That's very true. Mindset makes a big difference.
Yep.
So, Matt, what's next for M.R.S. machining? What's your plan? So, have you worked something out?
Oh, yeah, we're always working on a plan. For as far as future growth, we have a 3 to 5 year plan. It's so we have it laid out where we want to grow. Because if you're not growing, you're dying. Then as I get older, I'm not getting younger. Then we have to start talking about a strategic plan, or a succession plan, I guess I call it, for M.R.S. And I go out and off the door here, and I look at a bunch of young kids. I'm like, okay, here's some kids that want to grow. Here's some kids that are eager to learn, energized. How do we get them involved in M.R.S.? So that's the process we're starting now, which is exciting. Do we do an e-stop? What does that look like? So we're in the early stages of that. So, and there's a lot of people here that want to be involved in that. So that's kind of where we're at. But otherwise we're just moving forward. Like you said, like I said, the people coming into machining is going down, and the needs going up. So there's opportunities are unlimited. It's just how much you want to grow and how big do you want to get. I don't want to get too big and not have that family culture. But that's one thing I always tell people when they work here. I want them here. They want to be here. We'll make it feel like we never work another day in our life again. And then I had to add this one, and we gotta like to eat, because we have cookouts, and we have Tuesdays and Thursdays snack day, and like Christmas, we had the 12 days of Christmas, so we had smorgasbords of food for 12 days, and we all gained a bunch of weight. And so you got to make work fun. Anybody out there that doesn't, if work's not fun, well, it's time to move on. One thing I have addiction here, and is seeing people being successful. I want people to succeed, and to me, it's not about me, it's about them. If someone's working here and can go better themselves, I'll help them, because that's what life's about, being successful. And life's so short. It's just that you have to keep moving forward and be happy in life. And I tell people, I know some really wealthy people. I know some people that are like billionaires, and some of them are the most unhappy people.
Mm-hmm.
They should be the happiest, but the people, working day to day, making a paycheck to paycheck, they're the most happiest people. They got, they're living within their means, and it just seems like the more money you have, the more problems you have. So I don't know if that's any good insight or not, but.
Well, I'll tell you what would you recommend to, maybe what's the top 3 things you'd recommend to a new business owner, or, a business owner that might be stuck where they're at and trying to figure something out?
Well, there's lots of things. I'm going to, first of all, take care of yourself. Exercise, eat right, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take anybody else around you. If you're going to go into business, you're starting, there's 3 things I tell people. You better say yes to all 3. You're 24/7. You're going to be in your business 24/7. And if you think you're just going to work from 9 to 5 and that's it, well, it's probably better not going. Financially, you're going to risk everything financially. You got to be willing to go all in, because you're going to hit bumps and valleys, and you better be doing that. And the most important is your family. You better have your family on board, because they're not going to be seeing a lot of you. And they got to make sure they're on board. And if you have a family member coming in with you, that could be a little bit dicey. So make sure everybody's on board. And if you can get through those 3 things, you're going to be successful. So that's my 3 words of wisdom for that. Someday I should probably send you my 24 or whatever it is, 24 3 words of wisdom quotes I got out there. So
nice. No, that'd be good. So you did mention you're writing a book.
Yes, I'm writing a book. I've been talking about it for about 10 years now. And finally, AI technology, you love it. I'm like a blind man that's been blind all his life, and now I can see again, because AI helps me out. I know what I want to say. I know how to word it, but I didn't do very good grammar in English. So then I thought about ghostwriters. Well, and I tried just recording it, and that didn't work. And finally, I found this AI app, and I'm like, wow, this is great. That's exactly how I wanted to say it. So I'm about halfway through my book right now, and I'm just talking about the whole path from where I started, how I started, and all the failures, and leads into like 9/11, the financial crisis, oil and gas boom, and when the snake came to town, COVID, how I got through COVID, and I lay it all out, and then at the end I got some words of wisdom and what I see the future holds. So yeah, like I said, I'm no professional, but this will be my first book. I'm not a professional writer. I do have a good mentor. So he's wrote several books, Amazon bestseller. Met him down at IMTS. If everybody wants to go meet people and cool people, go to IMTS every 2 years in Chicago. It's a great event for manufacturers. It's the Super Bowl of manufacturing. So I'm going to throw that out there. And all the cool people I met and I'm associated with, I met at IMTS. So that's helped me a lot.
Nice. Very good. How do people get a hold of you as we wrap this up? What's the best way for people to contact you if they want to talk to you, or if they eventually want to find out about your book?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn pretty much regularly. You can reach me through LinkedIn. You can just type up Matt Guse podcast if you want to listen to some more of my lovely stories. I don't want to bore you to death, but or just Google my name. That's a big thing, and you'll find his ways. You can M.R.S. Machining co.com. That's our website. Then I'll have my phone number on there and anything. So I'd be more than happy to help anybody out.
Well, excellent. Maybe there's some people out there that need some machine work done, and we can get them over to you. Rich, we've got our own little venture going on, so why don't you tell us more about that?
Well, if you are interested in fractional leadership, and whether it is finance, operations, or HR, or marketing, give us a ring. We'd love to hear from you. And on top of that, if you are interested in actually working in those areas that I talked about, then we want to get you on our bench so that we can bring you and match you up with companies that are looking for you. So that is xcxo.net is the website. Take a look at it, check it out, reach out to us and connect. And you can always reach me directly. My email address is rich@xcxo.net.
Awesome. And just to reiterate, we have been interviewing some really great people we're going to be filling our bench. That's a lot of experience that I think is going to be helpful to different companies who maybe don't want to hire somebody full-time at a high six-figure salary, but need some extra help to kind of coach their people along. So that's a great opportunity here. But you know what? I'm going to let our other AI person, Bob, tell us all about it. Bob, take it away. And Matt, thanks again. Really appreciate having you on here. And once you get your book, we'll have to get you back on so we can talk more about that. Okay?
All right. Thanks.
Want to boost your
Take
sales
it away, Bob.
and profits, but need the talent to help you grow? XCXO is a one-of-a-kind platform to find skilled fractional executives to help develop your team into a high-performance powerhouse. Fractional leadership is a great choice when you consider the average executive-level candidate can cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars in salaries, benefits, and incentives. XCXO finds you the executive and utilizes their talents to build your team's experience, all for a fraction of the cost of a full-time C-suite leader. Contact XCXO today to fill the gaps in your leadership team. Visit xcxo.net to